Hello everyone. I've been doing some research on the CLA Plus assessment, so I wanted to give you all some updates and more information about this assessment, as well as potential alternatives to this assessment. So before I get into the psychometric properties of this assessment, I want to give you more information about the assessment itself. So basically, the CLA Plus is an assessment with open-ended questions with a focus on analysis and problem solving, scientific and quantitative reasoning, critical reading and evaluation, critiquing an argument, and writing mechanics. So this assessment will show how well a student can demonstrate skills needed for problem solving, perhaps within real jobs, research, or in graduate school. One of the key points of this assessment is the use of open-ended questions, which force the student to use critical thinking to develop a solution to this scenario. There are a few important components of the CLA Plus to consider so that you know how this assessment can be beneficial towards measuring critical thinking in the real world. So this assessment, the CLA Plus, consists of one performance task, which I will call PTs, which is a task that measures analysis and problem solving, writing effectiveness, and writing mechanics. This task is supposed to mirror real-world challenges that could be encountered in a work or academic setting. The assessment also includes 25 selected response items, which are questions that measure analysis and problem solving. I will call these SRIs. This part of the assessment has numerous questions addressing three different constructs: quantitative reasoning, critical reading and evaluation, and critiquing an argument. So both the PTs and the SRIs include sources or source documents for the students to review before making any final decisions on the solution of the presented problem. These documents may include data or table graphs, newspaper articles, research reports, or other critical information. So CAE provides some information on the psychometric properties of the CLA Plus, but the information they provide is not extensive. So the CAE conducted a pilot study on the new CLA Plus, although the CLA Plus that they studied was slightly larger than the operational CLA Plus. So, for example, students were given 2 PTs and 30 SRIs, but they were also given some extra time. So the operational CLA Plus has 25 SRIs and 1 PT. So even though there is a difference in the size of the test, CAE claims that the operational CLA Plus should provide the same results as the pilot study CLA Plus, although they do note that the reliability may be slightly lower with the operational CLA Plus because there are less questions. So first, let's look at what CAE found when the internal consistency was studied for the CLA Plus. So just as a reminder, internal consistency is a form of reliability. Basically, when an assessment has high internal consistency, the items within the measure correlate with each other. So this rating can be used to determine if a measure is reliable at the individual level or per each individual student. So CAE found the internal consistency with the pilot CLA Plus is high. More specifically, the correlations between PTs was between 0.67 and 0.75, and between 0.8 and 0.78 for the SRIs. So when they did the pilot study, they also used two forms, Form A and Form B. So to test the internal consistency, they found an overall reliability consistency of 0.87 for Form A and 0.85 for Form B. These scores are considered high. So the next psychometric property to look at is validity. CAE describes the construct validity found in the pilot study. And as a reminder, construct validity indicates the degree to which test scores may be interpreted as indicators of the particular skill or construct. So CAE found that the CLA Plus is strongly positively correlated with other tasks that measure critical thinking. They gave the score, or they found the score of 0.73 to 0.83. Another property of validity that CAE measured in the pilot study was face validity. So when a measure has strong face validity, this means that on the surface, it appears to measure what it claims to measure. So for the CLA Plus, it must emulate real-world problems that require critical thinking. To test the face validity, CAE asked test takers if they thought the CLA Plus measured what it was supposed to measure, which includes reading, writing, or reading comprehension, writing, mathematics, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills. CAE found that students perceive the tasks within the CLA Plus to be moderately good assessments of writing, reading comprehension, critical thinking, and problem-solving, which CAE notes as high face validity. So the results of the pilot study presented by CAE are promising and attractive. However, I wouldn't consider these results to be comprehensive by any means. One aspect that kind of leaves me wary is that CAE notes that the pilot study was conducted using 4 participating higher institutions, but there is no indication whatsoever of how many students were included in the study. Additionally, I'm wondering why CAE did not conduct this pilot study using the actual operational CLA Plus. It's kind of odd to me that they chose to use a longer version of the CLA Plus for the pilot study. So the CLA Plus may be more appropriate or attractable to EKU if CAE conducted more pilot studies using more students across more institutions while also using the operational CLA Plus. So now I'm going to discuss how EKU can use a CLA Plus and some alternatives. So I went to CAE.org and kind of got an idea of how they would expect post-secondary institutions and higher learning to use the CLA Plus. I've pinpointed which uses may be most beneficial to EKU based on EKU's desire to assess core competencies of students in the senior class. I've also found other ways in which a CLA Plus may be used at EKU. First, one way to tell how successful students have become at critical thinking throughout their college career may be to measure students as freshmen and then as seniors. So the CLA Plus can be administered to incoming freshmen, perhaps at orientation, and then administered during the same student's senior year. The scores can be compared to see if any improvements may be made. Of course, one cannot attribute any improvements strictly to EKU or the coursework at EKU. But EKU may be considered as a major factor in any improvements. EKU may also be able to look at specific scores, PTs versus SRIs, to see where, if any, improvements have been made. So if EKU does not feel that it is necessary to compare freshman scores with senior scores, it could administer the CLA Plus to only seniors. EKU can compare scores on the PTs and the SRIs to determine if the scores meet the key competencies desired by EKU. The CLA Plus is a general assessment and may not directly relate to desired key competencies at EKU, but it may provide a general basis for improvements of success in these key competencies. Of course, it is important to note that not taking the CLA Plus should not prevent the students from being admitted or graduating. So if EKU were to administer the CLA Plus, I would suggest they do this only on a voluntary basis. So to get more participants, EKU could offer some kind of incentives for students, such as, gift cards to the students who have volunteered to take the CLA Plus. If EKU wishes to implement the CLA Plus, some students may voluntarily take the assessment for the benefits it may provide them. CAE mentions that students may use the results to communicate their skills to employees or employers and graduate schools. Based on this, not only could the CLA Plus be beneficial to EKU, it may also be beneficial to the students at EKU who wish to use the scores as a supplement to graduate school admissions packets or on their resumes. So as previously mentioned, the CLA Plus is a general test and is not in any way specific to EKU's needs or values. Therefore, EKU may find that the information gathered by the CLA Plus is not valuable or specific enough to EKU. If EKU likes the idea of the CLA Plus, but does not like the general format or questions, it may find that developing a custom assessment related to the CLA Plus would be ideal. EKU could hire a consultant or assessment company to develop an assessment that measures the key competencies desired by EKU. Additionally, EKU may be able to develop an assessment for specific colleges within EKU. This is my conclusion of the CLA Plus and how it may be beneficial to EKU. Please feel free to let me know if you have any more specific questions or concerns. Thanks a bunch!